video, I am going to show you how to make the handles for your Rockport totes. The handles for the large and medium bag are made differently from the small, and I will show you both. Follow the directions to cut the fabric strips and batting strips that you'll need for your handle. For each handle, you'll need 2 fabric strips, so place those right sides together on top of a piece of just regular cotton batting. Stitch all the way around, leaving a 1.5 inch opening somewhere on the side of the long edge so that you can turn it right side out. You're going to clip your 4 corners, and you're going to trim your excess batting off of just the end. Turn that right side out, and we like to use the Turn It All tool. Comes in a couple of different sizes. We use the large size for the larger bag and the medium size for the little handle for the small bag. So you will take your turning tool. I call this the straw and the skewer. Place that in between the 2 layers of fabric at the opening. So there's your 2 layers of fabric. Just slide it right in there. I'm going to do the short side. Take your skewer and push the fabric so that it goes up into the tube, and then you can turn it right side out. To do the other end, slide the tube all the way down to the end. Again, take your skewer and push on that fabric and just push it right up through. Push out the fabrics in the corner. Now in the corner here, if you don't feel that your fabrics are pushed all the way out, you can go ahead and use a knitting needle with a sharper point and push that fabric out in the very corners to get it nice. Then you're going to iron your tube flat. Now you want to make sure that you've got this opening folded and ironed neatly so that when you go to sew, you're catching that in your stitching. So there's the opening right there. Mark a point 2 inches in from each end, and then you're going to stitch from that 2-inch point to that 2-inch point, making sure that in your stitching you're closing this opening as you go through. The next thing that you're going to do is you are going to add some strength to your handle. For this particular pattern, we suggest screen spline. It is a type of product that you use when you're repairing your screen. And we like the 0.14 inch. It comes in black or tan, whichever one you want to get. You can get this at the hardware store. Slide your spline. Now this is if you're hand sewing it to the bag. You're going to slide your spline right in. It should feed nicely all the way through the tube. And once it's in there, you want to trim it so that it is about a 1/2 inch or so from the bottom edge of these 2 tabs. Then you will hand sew that to the bag. If you want to machine sew it to the bag, what you're going to do is don't put the spline in. Machine sew it to the bag, and you'll sew it down the side, across, and on one side, not both, but just one side, you want to leave an opening in the bottom so you can slide the spline up through the handle. So on this side, you're going to sew down, across, and up. And on this side, sew down, in a little bit, leave that opening, sew over here, and up. And then, through the opening, you're just going to feed the spline all the way through. And it will get caught up a little bit on this side, so you just want to push on it And again, the knitting needle comes in handy to just sort of push it so you can feel that spline now be in this other tab on the other side. So that's how you add the handles to the large bag and the medium bag. Now the next step is I'm going to show you how to do the little teeny tiny handles. This is done a little bit differently. No batting required. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to fold a strip of fabric in half, right sides together, stitch down that open edge, open the seam, and place it in the center of this strip. So it's right in the center, and stitch across. You're going to do that on both ends. So you're going to open the seam and place it in the center, and then stitch across. These are very tiny handles, so that it looks like this. I don't know if you can see that very well. Now there, if you don't leave an opening in the center, just clip a couple of stitches in the very center, and then you're going to take the smaller tube in your package, or the medium-sized tube, and open this up. Slide your tube inside, just like you did with the other one. This doesn't want to work. Okay, slide it inside like that. Take the smaller skewer, I just happen to be using a real skewer here, and push it through. Push out your corners. Do the other end the same way, and iron it flat, so you have something that looks like this. And then you're simply going to fold this in half and stitch. You're going to mark a spot 1 inch in from the edge and stitch from here to the other end and attach it to your bag. And this one you're going to hand sew it on. So no spline required in the handle for the teeny tiny bag. You're just going to hand sew that on. Now the next thing I want to show you is the closure. Now you can put this closure on the large bag or the small bag. It doesn't matter. I like it on the small bag, but it can go on either size bag. So if you don't put it on the large bag, it's more of a tote. So you're going to take a piece of two pieces of fabric, batting in between, or double-sided fusible batting in between, the same way you made your sides. It's going to be a little bit smaller. Do your channel stitching, trim it to the size that's stated in the pattern, bind it, and then you're going to fold this in half. Stitch across the top, very close to the top, so that it makes a little tent. Take this piece and you are going to sew it to the back of the bag. You're going to sew it just below that binding, and you're going to stitch from binding to attach it. So that attaches it to the back of the bag. And then on the front of the bag, you can either add a single button, like that, with a magnetic button underneath. And we like the sew-in type magnetic buttons without the prongs. So you can use a sew-in button, or you can do this version right here, where we have 2 different buttons and 2 different sew-in magnetic snaps. That gives you your closure, and your bag is all done.